Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. Welcome to today's episode of the Elite Executive Podcast. I am joined in the booth by another one of my country people, compatriots, whatever the correct word is whenever it's a female. I normally say country man, but I can't do that. I've got Gillian Forde on. How are you, Gillian?
I am great. Yes, thank you for the introduction.
Mate,
Good to be here.
This will be interesting because we connected after your talk at the Perth Irish Business Network.
Yeah.
2 months ago, and then I softly pitched the idea of, listen, sounds like you've got a great story. Come on. We had a bit of lunch together and we talked about the podcast. And I've got a little bit of the background, but I probably haven't got all of it. Between your talk and the lunch, we talked mainly about how the podcast operates rather than you.
Yes.
So I'm excited to dive in, mate.
Good.
Tell
So,
me all about yourself. Let's start off with modern day Gillian.
wow, where do we start? So I am the girl from the wee county of Monaghan, who's come here to Australia and made Australia home. I am a mammy to beautiful little girl called Demi,
Lovely.
partner in crime to Connor, who you would have heard from that.
MC that night. Yeah.
that night, and I'm an engineer. Of course, so much of your person is framed around what you do. I'm an engineer, and I guess I'm also actively involved in community, and we spoke about that quite a lot as well, and that's across and in and out of different parts of community sport, community cultural side of things, and in my industry as well, in industry bodies as well. So
Lovely.
that's me in a very brief nutshell.
Well, and what's the official job title at the minute? I know you're engineer by trade, but what's the
Yes.
official title right now, Gillian?
Yeah, so I'm the operations director for Aurecon for Western Australia and Northern Territory region. So structural engineer by trade, and sort of just come up through the ranks. I've mostly worked in the built environment through my career, so led our buildings team, and now my remit is across the 2 states. And it's across all of the things that Aurecon do. So we're transport, land, water, energy, industrial, buildings, and advisory business as well. Mm-hmm. So my remit is around business performance now. Obviously, coming from a deep technical background, I have a really good understanding of how we deliver projects, from going from structural engineer through and looking after large projects to now looking after the business, making sure it's a well-oiled machine.
Perfect.
We're delivering what our clients are looking for, and we're excelling on that front, and making sure that we're sustainable, looking at ways to improve, looking at what, really looking ahead into the future, what a consulting engineering business and a services business looks like in the future.
Brilliant. And what does that look like in terms of, you got 2 quite large states there, you've got WA and the NT together combined. What does that look like in terms of direct reports and people overall that you're looking after then?
Yeah, so we've got over 400 people in Perth across our engineering and advisory businesses, and we've got another 60-ish in Darwin. And of course, there's structures within that. So I've got direct reports, and then we're divided into our departments: energy, industrial, transport, land, water, buildings. So I guess I've moved from having a lot more direct reports in leading our buildings business for the region to in the role I'm in now. There's less direct reports, but it's actually quite a shift in leadership. Less direct reports, but you're leading with influence. Through the leads who are looking after those parts of the business. So that's been a recent change for me as well. And yeah, it's been really interesting.
And how long has that been, Gillian, with the change into that new role?
Yeah, so in that role since May.
Okay.
Since May.
So still pretty fresh, about 6 months.
Still pretty fresh, yep, finding my feet, and it's really great seeing across the different parts of the business. As I said, I've come up through built environment from all of my career in Ireland and here, and working in different places as well, in the Middle East, and so I've seen it all, I guess, when it comes to buildings, and in this role I get to see how our teams operate and what our client requirements are different in those other sectors. Contract procurement models are different in those different sectors, so It's great, actually. It's you're moving from something that you know a lot about to really challenging yourself now into new territory.
Yeah, yeah. And did you ever see like this being on your bingo card, like where engineering background, like you say, very technical, to now then leading a massive group of people, like 400 people. That's a lot of people I have to look after now.
It's I think it's a progressive thing. For me, there's been a lot of opportunities presented to me. I feel I've worked with great companies. I've had a lot of investment into me, and I think that you start to realize it's a progressive thing. Bit by bit, you start to realize what the opportunities are ahead of you. You have more confidence in your capability, and these avenues for your career open up when you might just be in one, technical stream. They start to open up into leadership and management and other areas. And yeah, I guess through experience, development, investment into myself, then you're ready to sort of jump into different career paths. And I think for females as well, we often hear women, don't go for opportunities because they can't see themselves knowing how to do, 80% or 100% of the task. Whereas guys, if I can do 20%, off I go into it. So yeah, I think it's just through your experience you get more and more confidence in your ability to step into a new role. And yeah, I can do that role. I look over there and go, yep, I got most of that covered. Yeah. I can jump in there. And all the time, of course, in good companies, and even outside of that, in your mentors or sponsors or whatever you might have outside, you have that support for, I can do all of this, but I'm not sure about that area. There's always going to be new things to learn.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a challenge as well.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about how you got here, Gillian, because like we know where you are now, and I'm sure there's loads of stories and loads of skills that you picked up along the way. So I don't know how far back to take this. We're not going to go right back to childhood, so don't worry, we're not going to talk about that. But coming out of uni, then what was your first sort of role in with that degree, and then how did you then progress to being in Australia and then working your way to this job now?
Yeah, so
give me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Give the whole lot. Okay, so I was born in no, fast forward, studied in what was DIT, now TUI, in Dublin and Bolton Street. So I'm sure everybody that's engineering construction related is saying, I went there too, if they're listening. So graduated in 2007 and joined a company called White Young Green, based in Sandyford at the time, and they moved offices. Joined as a structural engineer into a buildings team, really big company. They were based in the UK and had expanded rapidly into Ireland. And then, of course, came the sort of signs of the GFC. So we were about 50 people in our buildings structures team there, and gradually we went through redundancy. So that period, 2000 and probably not 10, 11 for us at White Young Green, but for other businesses, sort of 2008, 9, 10, 11. GFC had hit Ireland. Government weren't spending any money. It's not like here when COVID hit. In comes the injection of money into infrastructure projects and everything. Ireland were not spending money, and of course, private development was they were unable to secure funding as well and credit as well. So Ireland was in a really difficult spot, and companies in construction, especially consulting, trades as well, were faced with not really much prospects of work, and not enough interesting work as well. So I was 3-year graduate out of uni and just thought, I'm not going to stay here and inspect cracks in schools and things like that for the next 5+ years until this recovers. So packed up and went to South America, actually. Decided I'm coming to Australia. Looks like a really good place to further my career. Had friends here.
Nice. Easy
transition. Went through South America on a big long holiday, spending my redundancy money. Landed in Sydney with a backpack and all of my South America gear. Just hung out with friends there, checked Sydney out, went to Melbourne as well. And I remember being in Melbourne looking at jobs for structural engineers in Australia, trying to decide where to go. And there was 172 jobs in Perth.
Yeah, right.
And it was like 50 and 60 in Melbourne and Sydney. And I was on a working holiday visa. So before I left Melbourne, I went to Vinnie's, picked up my corporate gear for interviews in Perth, and went because I was all out of funds. Moved to Perth. Had a really good friend here who I played rugby with in Ireland.
Nice.
Moved in with her, and that's the start of the story. Since then, got a job. Somebody wanted to sort my visa out, take me on, and work for a company called Robert Bird from 2011 until 2015. Spent some time in the Middle East as well with them, and took up the role with Aurecon in 2016. Spent some time in Qatar on the World Cup Stadium, the Lusail Stadium, with them as well, and still there.
Yeah, okay. And what's that progression been with Aurecon since 2016? So what was that previous role, and how did that progress to now, Gillian?
Yeah, so I joined as an associate structural engineer, so really heavily involved in design and leading projects, and took over looking after our structural practice. So we're about sort of mid-20s, I think, at the time, of structural engineers. Again, I guess leading people, leading the team, looking at securing work, of course, is an important part. Win and do. And then took over our buildings team for the region in Aurecon. So even that step was getting a better understanding of working with all the multidiscipline engineers before that, the building services engineers and the different types, but now leading those teams as well. So really understanding any challenges in those teams, responsible for bringing in work, delivering great results, quality, developing our team, all of those things under the umbrella. And then in last year, taking on the ops director role.
Love it. And
through that, I guess I've had a lot of support from Aurecon, a lot of leadership investment. It's pretty well structured, whether that's focused on being a female in the business. So there's been targeted programs for female leads, or sponsorship from more senior people in the business, to Melbourne Business School courses. So that's really helped push me along as well.
Brilliant. And Gillian, what was the main differences, moving over? You mentioned how, when the GFC hit and the Irish government weren't investing, and, private companies couldn't get things going either. And then you come over here. Was it like a different type of work, or how did the work differ from the Irish engineering market to coming to Australia then?
Well, even though we're here in Perth and it's a it's a smaller city than the other cities, the projects were still bigger as well, particularly in built environment. I guess if you're in transport, there's large transport projects in Ireland as well, but in built environment, the projects were bigger here. We've got more high rise in the city. Dublin is a different profile of a city, sort of, lower rise buildings, just as spread out as Perth, but. So I guess there was differences there. There was a lot more. We're in a mining state as well, so there's a lot more projects in that industry that I didn't have any exposure to in Ireland at all. And there was more money being spent. And we've had ebbs and flows in that time since coming here in 2011. But I guess, as I said, even through the bumpy times, and particularly COVID, the governments here have really injected money in and kept industries moving, and kept people going.
Yeah. And, you say you did Sydney and Melbourne first as well, and you stayed with friends and did brief things, and then you came over to Perth. What was your thoughts then? Because you see those two big sort of fancier cities, not as remote, and then you come over to Perth, which I guess in 2011, 2012 was a lot different to modern day, right? So what's your thoughts then after being in Sydney, the hub of Australia, and then the cool little cultural capital of Melbourne, and then landing in Perth back in those days?
Yeah, it just worked for me. I guess everybody has a different opinion of Sydney and Melbourne. When I got to Sydney, I'm a really pragmatic person. I sort of looked at the map and went, wow, this is going to be a really beautiful city, but how do people traverse this city? You know, how do people get around? I arrived in June. It was wet and windy, so probably didn't get to see the best side of Sydney.
Yeah.
I went to Melbourne, great culture, great everything. But I did think, it was also really, really wet, and people were saying, it's sort of 4 seasons in the one day in Melbourne and whatnot. And I thought, I've just lived in Dublin for 7 years.
Yeah.
It's got great culture. It's a great city. It's a fun city. It does rain a lot, and I sort of thought, oh, well, if I want that, I could go back to Dublin.
Sure.
And then coming to Perth, I'm from the countryside. It had a nice speed of life. Maybe a little bit backward at the time, and shopping centres and things weren't open at the weekends. But yeah, I got here. I had a good friend here that made it easier to integrate. I joined the rugby club here. It was a great way to integrate with people, sort of, and all different cultures and people from different places as well. And it's been a constant in our lives as well. And yeah, it just felt right for me. Sydney and Melbourne are really nice places as well, and different people like them for different reasons. But Perth felt like a good fit.
Brilliant. And you mentioned the rugby side, so we're going back to the teenage years now. We're going back and forth here a little bit. So has rugby always been a thing? Like, what sort of level would you have played, and did you sort of start playing rugby then?
Yeah, it hasn't always been a thing. My partner laughs at this. He's like, if only we got you playing earlier. So it hasn't really been a thing. I started playing tag rugby in Ireland. It was really big for corporates. So our company were playing, and my partner's company were playing, mostly playing with their team. And then my friend who I spoke about being here in Perth, we played on the same team, and we actually joined St Mary's rugby team in Templeogue together. Mm-hmm. So we'd only played tag. We were joining the team, some amazing players, and we've such fond memories there. So Paula Fitzpatrick, who ended up captaining Ireland not long after that, was on our team, and we joined the team. I'm trying to remember what year. That would have been around 2009, I think, or 10. Okay. Joined the team, got into playing rugby there. So we were just beginners there. Then when I came to Australia in 2011, joined Codicil Rugby Club, and Katrina was already there at the club because she had come out to Australia just before me. So straight in there with her, we knew each other. There were people from lots of Irish girls there, but French, Canadian, Kiwis, couple of Aussies thrown in, but it was a really, really multicultural place. I guess because of where the club is, it really attracts people, particularly expat and travellers, because it's just such a great location and such a great pitch and view. I'm giving it all the prompting now. We joined and played, and we had such a great group of girls there. Went on and played state tournaments, and then they established the Western Force. So got to play on the inaugural team for the Western Force. I guess I was coming close to the end of my playing career. It was good to be part of that, and then sort of part of not close enough, but extended squads for Wallaroos for before one of the World Cups. Nice. I think it was because my second row partner is an amazing player, Rebecca Clough, very high profile Wallaroo. So I think it was so that we could train together. But either way, I was on that extended squad, so never made it to that level. But I mean, it's just been a big part of my life, and I was involved at the club in committee roles, and then on the board at Rugby WA as well for 4 years, and helping the club at the moment as well, and on strategic plans and doing some work in the background with the club as well. So, and my partner Connor played at rugby as well at the club. So
yeah, fair.
Heavily involved.
It sounds like something that came a bit later in life, but it like this really intense, if you want to call it that, passion that erupted really quickly. It's like suddenly you're club, like everything related to the club, like you're working behind the scenes, you were playing, like you're still involved now, like this passion that started from a corporate tag thing,
Yeah.
suddenly erupted into a rugby girl thing.
Yeah, and I think it was probably something that was missing in my life before that.
Yeah.
Through school, it wasn't sport wasn't really pushed a lot at the school that I went to, so it was probably that piece that was missing in my life. And even though I don't play anymore now, I keep regular, go to the gym regularly, and still like to be involved in the rugby club side. But in terms of fitness and, I mean, being part of that team, I can link so many things back to how I lead teams now and just how I work now, taken from being part of a team sport, and even now, with keeping fit, how good that is for your mental health. Yeah, just coming out of the gym in the morning, you just feel like you're got some pep in your step.
Yeah. So that's key, what you just mentioned there, leading a team of 400 now and coming to Australia and getting to a high level in rugby relatively fast, I would say. Like, did you then sort of develop those leadership skills there? Like, were you one of those sort of trusted people at the club, maybe not captain, but like somewhere in that sort of top circle where then you would have been like looking after the younger girls at the club as well?
Yeah, definitely. I've had my I've had my fingers in all the pies, and I think I hope I've brought a lot of like enthusiasm to it, and that's half the battle, and passion to it, and sort of bring people in around me and motivate others as well. So yeah, I've been involved in. As a senior member of the team, getting girls going before the pre-season starts, bringing girls in, constantly recruiting, getting our original youth girls program off the ground, and seeing as well in that the gaps for rugby from junior girls to senior girls, that gap in youth, and being part of joining Rugby WA board on that part to really drive the women's game when there's so much focus on the women's game nationally, and yeah, to be part of that development and set up that continuous pathway for girls the whole way through, and that's still ongoing. And obviously we've got the Western Force team here now really established, and they can see that they don't need to leave this state to play professional rugby, and they've got a great program over there at Western Force. They're doing some really good stuff. So yeah, I've hopefully been part of that, and through my club and through the Rugby WA work as well.
Perfect. And Gillian, like I mentioned, I came to your talk at the Perth Irish Business Network 2 months ago. How important is that Irish network to you? Obviously, you had your friend here when you landed, and that was the first sort of protocol of somebody familiar from back home. But how much have you lent into that community since moving over here in 2011 then?
Lots. So I'm a tragic volunteer when I maybe talk about the next part. But I'm highly organised and sort of that person to get into volunteering. So through, I guess, as a social outlet, and then professionally as well, leaning into the Irish community. So in 2011, I joined the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee. There hadn't been a parade up in Perth in 10 years before that, I think it was. And Karen Hennessy, who is a force of nature, rounded up some enthusiastic people, or made us enthusiastic about it. And we got the parade up and running in Leederville in 2011. So that was just a huge success. We had Bob Geldof there in 2011. We had about 20,000 people down there, and I was responsible for getting the dollars in the door and asking people boldly for money and businesses for money. I was on that committee for a good while, and then I also was on the Irish Club Committee, and that was during COVID. So, part of that was during COVID. So involved in events and organising things and governance at the club, and just trying to bring as many people through the door, whether they're new groups or whether it's just the day-to-day new groups and events, I guess, probably across those categories, and or any other business and sort of sponsorship and support as well. That was really challenging during COVID, but we moved things online virtually, and that's where I roped my partner in to run some quizzes and fun things online just to keep the whole community connected. And then, yeah, I guess in business as well, a lot of connections have either fallen sort of out of that and or just the person you meet across the table. There is that. Irish people are generally quite outgoing, very friendly, generally very friendly, all of those things. So when you meet someone across the table doing business, you connect, and it's such a small place, Perth, so you end up bouncing into those people.
Yeah.
All over the place. And I guess it's meant I've got quite a big circle of people that I know through those activities, which, again, it's a small place, you keep bumping into them over and over.
Yeah, fair.
When you're away, we don't have any family here.
Yeah.
So possibly, not possibly, we've leaned into, and I've leaned into having that sort of social group, whether that's through the rugby club, especially through the rugby club. It's like a big family down there, but also in the other committees and things that I've been involved in.
Fair. And one thing, Gillian, that you said was that your job was to go out and, be brazen and just say, hey, we need money for this parade. You're a big company who has some moolah, give me your money. Like, had you had much sales experience before that? Because you're talking about engineering, you're talking about very technical background, and then suddenly you're asked to cozy. So it's like, it's not she's a born salesperson. I guess that's more of she's very likable. Like, how did that go when you had to step into that sort of a role that you're not used to doing sort of day to day?
Oh, my partner's going to be laughing right now because he has expressions for this, but I have sales experience. I worked in a retail shop when I was a teenager back in Coot Hill, County Cavan. I guess we put a plan together. It's great now because when we're developing strategies in business, all these I didn't have the skills at the time as much as I've sharpened them up since then. But we put together a plan that would engage with people and that people could see this is a really good thing to do. These guys have got a committee and they've got the motivation and the energy to push this forward. So we had something to pitch to them that was really solid. So that's the first part, I guess, in sales. What's the product you're selling?
Yeah.
And what's in it for those people? To be part of setting up something that continues to this day. Yeah. And so many of those committee members all through the years I've got to know as well. But yeah, I think it was an easy pitch then because people could see it was the Irish community was growing as well at the time. So we're just after coming off the back of that influx from 2008, 9, 10, 11, my landing, and we got the parade going in 2012. So there was a huge influx, and Karen rightly picked it up that there's a appetite for us to get this parade going again. And they have one in every other major city in the world. Why don't we have one here? And so then it was actually quite an easy pitch to businesses here. They wanted to be involved. There was ways for them to get involved. It wasn't just, give us your money. There was levels of packages and involvement in a what is a parade and the family fun day and the oval. So there's plenty of visibility and everything else. Yeah. And it was really warmly received.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And how long did you end up being on the committee and doing any sort of roles? I presume you're not on it anymore.
No, I was on it for the first 4 years, I think it was.
Okay.
And then sort of found myself in the next thing, which was the Irish Club. And then I had been on the Women in Engineering Committee for Engineers Australia at the same time, promoting STEM to students and promoting engineering as a career to women and high school students, and to try and sort of get those numbers up at unis. And then also currently on the Property Council precincts and Strategic Infrastructure Committee. So I sort of, when I had my daughter, I said I'm going to, sort of pull out of some of these things and put these things on the back burner, and that was really important and has worked out mostly. But as I said, I'm a tragic volunteer and I'm on one committee now and working in the background of another initiative.
Where does that come from? Because most people, let's be honest, volunteering their time outside of the like they're in the rat race at 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever. Not many people want to give up their personal time for another cause, especially if like there's no direct massive benefit. If you told somebody they're going to get an extra 50 grand a year or something to go and volunteer, we might have more volunteers. But to just go and for numerous different organizations, like you use the term tragic volunteer, I think it's a commendable thing to do to say, I think I can have an impact here, it's a good cause. But where did that sort of come from for you?
Well, I think when you say that they're not going to get anything out of it, that's not what I feel. I feel I get a lot out of it. Giving back, I get great reward from giving back. And the things that we have achieved as volunteers, such as the parade, other things in Rugby WA and pathways, the things we've achieved as volunteers with an amount of time. It's not all of my personal time, and especially since having my daughter, I'm really, really conscious of that time. But I get great reward from it that I might not get, and energy from it and satisfaction that I might not get in other places. Plus, there's all of those connections that you make. So, they might not be directly linked to what you're doing, but in the future, I think a lot of that gives back as well. I think there's a karma effect in that as well. I feel I've been rewarded for what I've put in, but I'm always conscious of making sure it works for my daughter and my partner.
Yeah,
Don't forget about him too.
And Gillian, we've sort of went into the career and then back around about time in Perth, but to go back to the career side, 7 months ago you took on this huge role. What's been the sort of biggest challenges thus far, either from a professional development or skills you didn't have that you needed to level up, or time management? What's been your biggest challenges?
I think one of the biggest challenge is, as I was saying, it's a role where you're looking to influence across the business. That's been something I've had to learn how to do. It's, as I said, it's not sort of all that direct reporting structure. It's more of influence and also prioritizing, because it's a role where you're a central figure for so many things that our business needs to achieve. So you're constantly trying to prioritize. You're there to support the teams. You're there to support what we're doing, but you really have to prioritize what's going to have the most impact, and be really deliberate about that, more so than what I've had in the past. So those are probably the things that I've been that found the most challenging. But it's good in that I'm aware of the people around me who have done those roles, and I mean, a really easy thing is just to reach out to someone who's either in the same role or has done the same role, and play that back to them, check in, see how you're going, get some tips and advice. It's something that I haven't been afraid to do for a lot of my career. Probably when one of the things I sponsor and mentor different females in our business, outside the business and in sport as well, through the Minerva network. So that's another one I'm involved in. I forgot to slot that one in. You have to be able to say no as well to things. I think when I joined Aurecon as that sort of level 8 associate, you can be stretched across so many things, and there can be a lot of people asking you to be involved. Everything looks like an opportunity, and you feel that if you say no to something, you might miss out, or it might be perceived as she doesn't want to be involved, or not interested, or want to help. But I had a bit of an epiphany then, that if I'm too stretched across things, I'm not going to be able to give my whole self to it, and I won't do a good job. I won't do a good job for that person, and it won't be a great reflection on me either. So it's important to be able to say no, and I really stress that to a lot of the people that I mentor, because that way you can focus on what's important, where you can have most impact, and hopefully, hit it out of the park and do a great job with it,
Yeah, of course. Why do you think then that most people struggle to say no, even if they know that their plate is already full and that, are they just people pleasers, or why do people generally struggle with no? They'll keep adding stuff onto their plate until they're literally like ripping their hair out with stress.
I think it's probably a combination of things. So for me, one of the things people might not realize or might not think about enough is you can be asked to participate, even within your own business, participate in this initiative, participate in that, join this meeting with CEO, whatever it is, and it all looks like opportunities, and you don't want to let somebody down. But in reality, those people aren't speaking to each other about what you're getting involved in.
Yeah.
They're looking in the business and going, who could we get involved in X, Y, and Z? And you might be tapped on the shoulders a couple of times there. So it's important to realise that they will appreciate you saying no, because I've got this initiative over here and I need to pour my time and focus into that. They will appreciate that more than you saying yes and struggling through it. Mm-hmm. I think that was one of the realizations for me. There might be some people pleasing in it, but again, if you don't do a good job of the things you're trying to focus on, it's the opposite of pleasing.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are the big things now? We're recording this on whatever date in December here, Gillian. What are the big things you're focusing on coming into 2026 now, both personally and professionally then?
Yeah, maybe professionally, we have a new CEO in Aurecon. We have a refresh of our strategy. We call it our blueprint. So in my role, really focus on making sure we implement that into our regions and what that looks like in our regions as well, because things need to be tailored to the different regions. So for me, showing some leadership there and being just involved in all of the other things that I'm doing. On a personal front, getting that balance of time with family. My daughter's 3.5, so it's such a lovely age, and we'll be off to kindy next year. So really just trying to make sure I get the balance right to spend time with her. And probably as school starts and there's a bit more structure to our calendar, maybe looking at those opportunities to volunteer. Did I say volunteer? To, I guess, what I'm already involved in and where I could have impact, whether that's on committees or boards, what that looks like into the future as well. I think that's going to be a part of my life. I don't see me backing away from that. So it's just sort of picking the things that I can add most value to and get and sort of be rewarded on, not necessarily where volunteering, not necessarily financially rewarded, but get some satisfaction from.
Brilliant.
But also if there's financial reward, that would be awesome.
So anyone listening who wants you on board, financial involvement, slip her something under the table. And Gillian, one thing, and you've mentioned a few times about how the current volunteering and the role you've got, it has to fit around your partner and your daughter.
Yes.
Like, what's been the challenges there? Because I did mean to ask this earlier, but forgot to come back to it. What's been the challenges with that balance of work and family time for you taking this new role?
It actually hasn't been too bad. So Aurecon have got really like a lot of policies around flexibility of working, making sure that our people can find that balance in work and life, that appreciation that everybody has a life, and it's more important, that life with your family is more important than your work. Mm-hmm. So it's actually been okay. I've had great people that I'm reporting to and that are leading our business who understand that. So it's always been a sort of priority of how I go about structuring my own day and my own week as well. So I actually haven't found it too bad. And I know that's not the same across the whole landscape. I know a lot of businesses still don't have those policies and those options for people to work. So I am really conscious of that. But I've putting it as a focus from the start, and sort of it's partly up to me to set up my day and week and life around that.
Yeah, perfect. And Gillian, I don't know who's going to listen to this, right? That's the thing. I can see the numbers of who listen or how many listen, but I don't know who. If you were going to describe what Aurecon do in a short couple of minutes here so that people listening can say, oh, that's a company that we may hire, we may need, or we might need to develop a relationship with, how would you describe what Aurecon do and and do your best in a little elevator pitch.
A little elevator pitch. Well, yeah, hop on the website and have a look. I guess we talk about bringing ideas to life. You know, we're engineers. We are custodians of hopefully, you know, delivering a better future for our people and the planet. That's some of the words that you'll find on our website. What does that actually mean? We've got a huge part to play across developing infrastructure, whether that's built environment, transport, land, water, energy, industrial, all of those industries. We're consultants, so we are at this sort of front end, developing your business cases, feasibility, delivering that design all the way through to helping manage those assets as well. So that full life cycle across those industries. And yeah, with that huge focus on sustainability and things that are important for leaving a legacy, leaving a better future for people out there.
Yeah.
We sometimes engineers often downplay what impact they're having on society, and we try to sort of bring that up into the focus of it about the important role we have.
Nice. And what I'll do, Gillian, is I'll put the link to your LinkedIn, and if anyone is interested in what you guys do, or just you as an interesting person and wants to connect, maybe they've landed fresh off the boat and they want to
absolutely send them my way.
Connections, or whether it's they see Aurecon as a potential partner in what they do. So yeah, thank you for your time. I don't even know how long we've been recording because this setup's slightly about 40 minutes now. And I think it's been a great episode. Like, there's lots of stories. There's probably stuff we didn't even really get into. So you've probably written down lots of notes and you're like, oh, we didn't talk about this or that. But I think it's been very raw and real, and I appreciate your time. And hopefully I can thank you by buying you a drink tomorrow night at the Perth Irish Business Network at Roberts in Leaderville. Yeah,
make sure you get down to that one if you're listening. It's the first Thursday of every month, and got a great quorum of women who are running that. It's a great way to connect.
Brilliant.
You don't need to be Irish as well. So
that's true. I was speaking to somebody who was, well, he said he was Scottish, but then he had an English accent, so must be one of those border town people. Maybe, so. Yeah. But there was all sorts of people there, and great people, and I walked into I've only went to one, like I said. I don't normally do networking like that, and I haven't lent into that side as much as I should have, and I went in nervous as anything, and within 2 minutes people were talking to me, asking me about me and finding out about them, and just a really great group of people. So
it is, yeah.
And that's a testament to the community, which you've been a part of building here, so yeah, well done to you as well.
Oh, thank you. No, it's a good one to get along to.
Well, guys, I encourage you to connect with Gillian if you are interested in anything here. If you did enjoy this, hit the follow button or subscribe button, as that will help boost us up, and we can get other high-profile guests, other amazing guests like Gillian on. Thank you for listening, guys, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.